Good evening. Welcome to this week's One Image My Edit. So this week I'm going to be showing you how to create dark and moody portraits just using Lightroom. So we're going to be going for something like this. So this is your normal kind of warm portrait, and we're going to make it a little bit more moody and dark like this. So excuse me. The reason why I thought I'd show you this is because a lot of the One Image My Edits, I've been showing you lots of different tips and tricks. So I thought I'd go back to basics and just show you how to edit an image and make it look, really powerful and really moody, and just to show you the power of Lightroom, because Lightroom is a brilliant tool for manipulation. So let me know how your week's been so far. Have you all been enjoying the sunshine in the UK anyway? It's been really, really nice and warm today. So I hope you've been out and about taking pictures. Let me know what you've been doing. So what I'm going to do is for you guys that are in the VIP, I'm actually I've already made a preset for this, so you guys will be getting that after the show. We'll pop that into the VIP group for you guys, and you can download this. And for everybody else, I'm going to walk you through how to do this, how to achieve this. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do with this is I'm going to increase the contrast, simply because we're trying to go for a real high contrasting image. So I'm just going to, and this, you're just doing it by eye. If we increase it too much, it's going to create too much dark within the shadow. So I reckon around 25, 26, 27, around then. Again, we can come back later to that. So highlights, because you want to create a moody image, you're going to bring this right down. I reckon around there. About 71, 72, around there. That's really just darkened all them highlights now. And then the shadows, I just want to bring a little bit more detail back into them shadows. But again, we can come back later to this and just, slightly tweak this if you need to. And then the blacks, I'm going to drop them right down. And the reason why I'm dropping the blacks down is because you'll see that is darkening the overall image, but it's just the blacks. We're not affecting the highlights. So it gives us this real rich, dark and moody look. And you think I've only just basically 1, 2, 3, 4, I've made 5 slide adjustments, and if you look at the difference already, it's kind of getting there, isn't it? It's got quite a good base to start from. So what I'm also going to do is bring the saturation down, okay, because this is a really warm image. There's lots of natural light coming in from the sun. So I want to try and get rid of that. I want to try and balance this out a bit. So I'm going to bring the saturation down. Now, if we go all the way, it's going to go to black and white. And again, each image is going to be completely different. I reckon with this one, I think around 30 is good. Maybe actually drop that a little bit more to around 24, 25. Actually keep a little bit of color in there, because if we go too dark, it's just going to look like a black and white. And that's what I'm not aiming for at the minute. Okay, so once we've done that, then I'm going to use the curves tool. Now, the curves tool is a brilliant tool for adding contrast. And what we can do is manipulate how the blacks, the grays, and the whites are shown through the image. And I'm going to just literally click 1, 2, 3. So we've got here, we've got the grays, here we've got the whites, and here we've got the blacks. Now, what I'm going to do is actually click on the circle down here, this is the blacks here, and I'm going to crunch these in. So I'm actually going to slide this further in. And what that's doing is that is telling Lightroom actually start the blacks at this point. So I'm really compressing them in and pushing them in. And that's what gives it this this kind of, you can see here, this black look here on the coat. That's what I'm after. I'm after a really dark and moody image. What I'm also going to do is I'm going to just do the same with the whites. I'm going to bring them in a little bit. I'm going to bring them down a little bit as well. So again, we're crunching them whites and we're just bringing them in. And then I'm going to make what's known as an S curve. So if you look at this dot here, I'm just going to push that up. I'm going to bring that down, the blacks, and then I'm going to do the same with the gray tones. So I'm going to just play around with this until I get an almost like an S shape. Okay. So again, each image is going to be completely different, and it really does vary on the image. But with this, doing it by eye is the best way. There's no technical way of doing a perfect S curve. You just need to play around with it and just look at the image, look at the tonal range. And what you're looking for is within the blacks and the highlights and the midtones, you're just looking for we're looking for balance. So we want the blacks to transition into the grays and then to the whites smoothly. So that's what an S curve does. Now, that's not a perfect S curve, but that doesn't matter because we can come back to it later. Okay. So I'm going to actually just push them whites just up a little bit more. There we go. That's good. So again, we can come back to this later. All right, but that's quite good. That's quite dark and moody. We're getting there. If we look at the steps that we've done so far, you can see there we're starting to create that moody effect. So we're going to come into the HSL, or the color panel. So the hue, saturation, luminance. So luminance is the brightness. Saturation is how much of the, say for instance, the red, how much of that red is in the shot. So we can bring that red right out, or we can add it. So we can take the color out or put more color in, basically. And then the hue is just changing, for instance, red, whether or not we want that red to look more orange or we want it to look more red. It's really that simple. So what I'm going to do within the hue, with this here, I'm going to go to the yellows, and because this is quite a bright image, I'm going to push that up to around 40, something like that. And then within the saturations, I'm gonna start playing around with the saturations because I want to take a lot of this color away. So I'm going to bring the orange down to about there, about 20, yeah, about 24. That would do. The yellow I'm going to bring down as well. I'm going to bring that down a little bit more. Now you notice that I actually moved that yellow up earlier in the hue, so I'm pointing it towards more of a green tone, which is really unusual for me because I hate green. But what that's doing, that's helping to cool down the image. Okay. And then what we're going to do to counterbalance that is just bring these greens right down. So let's just bring them down to about there. So that's going to take out any more of the green tinge that we would have added because of changing the hue. Okay. The aqua, I'm going to bring that down as well, about there. And the blues, I'm going to bring that down. Probably not as much as the rest because I actually want to keep a blue tinge to this, which I might add in the midtones in a second. Well, I will add in the midtones in a sec. Then the luminance, let's look at the brightness of this. So the brightness of these colors, we can always push red up because of the skin tones and the red lips. So that's quite nice. Okay. The yellows, again, we can just brighten them up a little bit more. So we're not, even though we're taking the saturation away, we're not losing the brightness of the colors. Okay. So it's really important to balance them out. So I'm going to push these greens up because I did pull them right back, didn't I? So I reckon around there. So you can start to see this is, you know, changing the luminance. This is what's going to start adding back that mood and the atmosphere. So the hue and saturation, you know, you are pulling them colors down or pushing the colors up, whichever way you're going, but the luminance is now creating that mood. So let's make sure we've got some blue in it then, because obviously I want it to be dark and moody. So I reckon around there. That's quite nice. Now within the color grading, like I've been mentioning, so I'm going to add some blue to the shadows and the highlights. So if you click on these here, you've got the highlights, the midtones, and the shadows. So let's just add a blue. You can pull and push, so you can make it, you know, darker or softer just by pulling and pushing in. So in essence, this is the luminance of it. So I think there, that's good. So we click on this here, this little dopper here, we can see there that's the kind of blue, or we can just select that blue, and that would give us even a darker image. So I tell you what, let's go with that because that's easier for you guys. So you can just select that, or you can select whichever one you want. And then the highlights as well, I'm going to do the same. Now doing the same may cause the image to be a little bit flat if we're adding the same color to the highlights and the shadows. So let's just pull back actually I'm going to pull back the shadows. Let's go, because the highlights, there's a lot of warm in there, that's why. So the shadows, I'm going to just pull that back a little bit. There we go, just so we get a little bit of differentiation there. Right, so once we've done that, we're kind of now building up to the overall image. Now what I want to do is start adding some noise reduction to this, and the simple reason is that this will actually soften the image slightly. So I use this to do just that, to soften the image. So if we bring this right up, we can kind of start creating you know, a nice effect, and it will just make everything a lot smoother, and it won't be such a severe image, because we're just putting a little bit of a sheen on it, so to speak. Okay, so just literally pushing the luminance up to around 30, something like that. I'm going to keep the detail at 50, so we're telling Lightroom we still want to keep detail, even though we're adding a slight blur to it. And I'm going to do the same with the color as well, so I'm just going to push this up to around about 27, something like that. And again, detail and smoothness, keep them at 50. So once we've done that, we kind of already started to create this real moody effect. Now the last thing I'm going to do is come up to here, and this is the Radial filter. Okay, and what this enables you to do is just make a global adjustment. So I'm just going to select around sort of there, so it just kind of fits into a face, and we can move this in and make sure it fits. Now if we change the shadows, for instance, you can see that everything's been changed except for her face. So we need to click on invert. So invert now means that everything inside is going to change. Okay, and with regards to the feather, you want this I'd say at least in the 90s, because the higher it is, the smoother that transition is going to be. So when you make an adjustment, you're not going to see it. Basically, if I bring this right down and make an adjustment, you'll see that there would be a solid line around her face, and obviously we don't want that. So let's bring the shadows up. There we go. We can actually bring maybe the exposure up a little bit, just a tad, and I'm just going to push them blacks down a little bit, but I just want to get some detail out in the shadows, and then there, that's good. Okay, so if we just look at the difference from actually just doing that, you can see it's only slight, but it's enough just to lift a little bit of detail in her face. So let's go now to her eyes, and we can do the same. So we can select another Radial filter and just make it into the shape of the eye. Okay, there's lots of ways you can do this, and I've shown you many a times different ways of doing it. So again, click on invert, and again we're gonna bring up some of that detail and shadow. In fact, I'm going to include the whites of the eye as well. I'll bring that down there, and maybe just bring that up a little bit. Now what we can do, a quick way to do the other eye, is just right click and click duplicate, and then we can just drag across there. And that means that we're going to get the exact same adjustment. But so you can do that, but the problem with that is that, well, this eye is darker than that eye, isn't it? Yeah, because of the light is coming from the left. So sometimes it can actually, you know, cause the image to look a little bit unnatural if we do that. Like I did with the blue tones, we always want to try and add some contrast or some difference between, you know, the bright side and the dark side on there. So let's just bring that down a little bit. There we go. So it's about there. It's just enough just to pick it out, but we don't want to bring it out too much that it starts to look too false. Okay, so looking at that now, if we go to the import, so there we go, that was the original image. So you know, remember, you get a little bit blindsided when you're looking at images and you're working along, and this is what we've ended up with. So that gives you that real moody look. Now if we look at the preset that I made, it'll be interesting to see what the difference is from this and the preset. So that's the preset, and that's the one that I've just done. So you can see the difference there is that this one's a little bit more blue, and that's coming down to this here. Okay, so if I wanted to, I could bring that shadows back up. Remember, I made that quite dark. And then if we look at the moody there, you can see there that it's getting much closer. So to give this this crunch, these whites, we can come back up to here. Okay, we can mess around with them. We can also play around with the blacks a little bit as well. We can lift that up just to create a little bit more mood. We can bring them down. There's a lot of different things that we can do just to tweak this. So it's just a case of playing around until you're satisfied, really. We could probably just bring the exposure up a little bit more. So there we go. So that's how you do it. That's how you create a real moody, dark portrait from something that's pretty much standard. So again, you know, it is literally just playing around with these different shades and finding the best solution for your image. Every image is going to be completely different. Okay, so I hope that's helped. I hope you've enjoyed that. Like I say, have a play, use this as a guide, so to speak, and then see what you come up with. And for you guys in the VIP group, I'll be posting up the preset so you can use it straight away. Okay, have a good week, and I'll see you all soon. Bye-bye.